Bienvenue tous. Welcome to Reporters here on France 24. That's France 24 in English. And welcome to Laurence Cavilier, this week's reporter. Laurence has been investigating the disappearance of a number of people in Mexico and the disturbing revelation that law enforcement has been involved. Laurence, tell us more about that.
Well, cases of police officers involved in disappearances, which is called in that case a forced disappearance, are unfortunately quite common in Mexico. Local police, who are generally poorly trained and poorly paid, are often threatened into taking part of the activities in the activities of the criminal gangs, or at least turning a blind eye on them.
Laurence, thank you. Since 2006, 32,000 people have disappeared. That's an average of 7 each day. Let's take a look then at this week's report by Laurence and Mathieu Comin, Mexico and the disappeared.
The list of names is endless. For these women, this Mother's Day is not a happy one. They're searching for their missing children, some more than a decade on.
I'm looking for my son, Manuel Amate Torres. He disappeared on December 29th, 2016 in Outland, Jalisco.
A year and a half of searching and no results. For the umpteenth time, Beatriz is back in Outland, but this time she has company.
This place is very dangerous.
Yes, and that's what we want to know. Why do so many people disappear in Outland?
Vicky and her brother recently found themselves in the same situation as Beatriz. Their father, uncle, and 2 cousins disappeared in this village 3 months ago.
They went through a routine check by municipal police, and after that, we lost track of them.
Beatriz knows that her new friend is only at the beginning of a long and difficult journey. And we find ourselves in an ironic situation. Jalisco State Police escort us to ensure our safety. It's the police protecting us from the police.
Your case number?
That's it, right?
Yes, exactly.
This is the last contact we had with my family members. The fiancé of one of my cousins received a message from him saying that they just had been intercepted by 2 municipal police vehicles in Outland.
Possibly predicting something would go wrong, he sent the unit numbers of the police that stopped them. This is Vicky and her brother's first reluctant visit to the police station. Indeed, it's the local police who are responsible for investigating the actions of their own agents. The air is heavy in the warm and humid hills of Veracruz. But when approaching these pits, they can't go without a mask. The smell of death permeates everything.
2 days ago, we started digging here, and we found 2 bodies. They'd been dismembered. This searching is very difficult. Finding a body in this state is terrible because the last thing we want is to see our children like that.
Mothers search for the bodies of their own children under the watchful eye of authorities. The same authorities they don't trust.
In Veracruz, the police themselves systematically kidnap people and execute them. The very people who are supposed to guarantee the safety of citizens are the allies of organized crime.
Since her 21-year-old daughter was kidnapped in 2012, Araceli has encouraged families to speak up.
Since we found these pits, 5 new families contacted me. They told me, "I know you've just found bodies. My son or my daughter has also disappeared in the area of Rio Blanco. Please help us find them." I ask, "Have you reported the disappearance?" They say no. I ask them, do you want to? No, I'm afraid of the authorities. 2 of these 5 families tell me it was the police who kidnapped their children.
Araceli now believes she has nothing left to lose.
You come here with your family, and where is mine?
In front of the governor, her rage exploded back in 2014.
Your investigators are useless. They don't help us. Oh yes, this is a beautiful colonial village here, a village where our children disappear. Quit mocking us. Wipe that smile off your face. My life has ended because of this.
Araceli can only leave home accompanied by 3 bodyguards. Since the disappearance of her daughter, she's been threatened and intimidated.
I have here the video of a man.
It's Centeno. He was named Police Officer of the Year. He was one of the commanders of the state police. He was nicknamed Triton. He was accused by several families for the disappearance of their children.
Alfonso Centeno has been in prison for a year, accused of forced disappearance and child sex abuse. Centeno, here in Orange, is believed to have caused the disappearance of at least 22 people in the village of Potrero Nuevo on August 2nd, 2013. His trial is held in the utmost secrecy. No journalists allowed, only 2 relatives of victims present.
I want justice to be served, because my mother was 75 when he kidnapped her. What could she have done to him, a woman of that age?
Maria's mother ran a bar in Potrero Nuevo. She and several of her clients disappeared that day. This is the first time Maria finds herself face to face with the former police commander.
I feel both anger and sadness, because there was no reason to do that to my mother.
But Maria sees no progress in the hearing, and her frustration grows.
I want him to tell me where my mother is. What did he do with the victims? Where did he take them? Why did he do that? That's all.
Potrero Nuevo. A thick fog of tension and silence surrounds the village. We quickly realize we can only film with a hidden camera. The afternoon of August 2nd, 2013 is only mentioned in whispers.
They took about 30. It was horrible. But was it organized crime or the police? There were police vehicles. Nobody knows what happened after that.
Following vague directions, we find the bar Maria's mother ran, nestled on the edge of train tracks.
It was here.
This was a bar?
Yes. After they kidnapped the lady, they closed down.
A raid, then nothing. What happened to all these people? Are they dead, slaves of narcos, forced into prostitution? The locals know better than to ask.
Here, if you see something, you have to keep quiet. It hasn't stopped. Nobody can get rid of this mafia. They take one person, they kill another. It just goes on and on.
In Outland, Beatriz and Vicky have been at the police station for hours. We find Vicky on her way out.
What happened to the policemen who were with your family just before they disappeared?
They told us that they have nothing to do with this case, that they have checked, and that it wasn't them. They're not guilty.
That's what they told you?
Yes.
Do you believe them?
No.
Vicky and her brother are feeling a profound helplessness for the first time. But Beatriz knows this feeling well. After a year and a half, her son's case hasn't progressed an inch. However, several people witnessed his abduction in the parking lot of the town hall.
He disappeared right here. After that, no news. Just next door is the police station. There are several surveillance cameras, but they haven't given us any answers about what happened.
Until last year, Mexico had no federal law on such forced disappearances. In October 2017, after 2 years of debate, Congress finally added it to the criminal code, making it punishable by 40 to 60 years in prison. But convictions handed down so far are extremely rare given the scale of the problem. A former police officer agreed to talk to us. He worked for more than 10 years in a police force on the outskirts of Mexico City.
I personally knew colleagues who, when they would catch someone they considered suspicious, they would just...
They executed them.
Yes. Because for us, it was a joke. If we took them to the police station, they'd be released again the next day.
How many cases did you witness?
I'd say 15 or 20.
While you were...
While I was a policeman.
And it was never revealed?
No, never. Nobody ever knew anything about it.
Back in Veracruz, there's a shred of hope. With a change in government, Pandora's box has been opened. 21 police and former senior state officials have been indicted since February for forced disappearance, the first such trial in the country. Everything happened behind this fortress-like facade at the police academy of Jalapa, the state capital. According to the investigation, police officers took at least 13 people here to torture and disappear them for mere suspicion of cartel affiliation.
Una nueva generación de 379 policías confiables, capacitados, preparados y mejor equipados reforzarán las acciones para salvaguardar la integridad de la sociedad veracruzana, afirmó el gobernador del estado Javier Duarte de Ochoa al encabezar, en compañía del secretario de Seguridad Pública Arturo Bermúdez Zurita, la ceremonia de...
These two men oversaw a dark era of history in Veracruz. Javier Duarte, governor from 2010 to 2016, went on the run after his tenure and today is in prison for money laundering. Arturo Bermúdez is one of the defendants in this first major trial for forced disappearance. The state attorney in the trial knows this is just a drop of water in a desert of impunity.
In the state of Veracruz, there are at least 51 municipalities where there are ongoing investigations into forced disappearance. There are probably still a lot of guilty policemen on duty, but we still do not have enough evidence to try them in court.
La Aurora Canyon is a mesmerizing landscape. It's here, according to confessions of several policemen on trial, that bodies of the disappeared met their tragic end.
You can see this was a great place for them, ideal for parking the vehicle at the edge of the road, then come and throw the bodies here. According to some testimony, bodies were thrown from a state police helicopter. The police academy is right on the other side.
Carlos is anxiously waiting for forensic excavations to begin at the bottom of the cliff. He's had no news of his son and daughter, two students who disappeared together in January 2016.
Soon after my children disappeared, my daughter's car was found in the hands of police officers.
In Mexico, 98% of crimes go unpunished. And when the police are in charge of investigating their own abuses, the chance of getting justice is minuscule. Carlos, Araceli, Beatriz, Vicky, like thousands of others, they live the impossible grief of not knowing whether their loved ones are dead or alive.
Our reporter Laurence Cavelier is still with us by satellite from Mexico City. Laurence, thank you so much for your report. And I understand that as part of your investigation, you actually tried to interview an ex-police officer being held on charges of kidnapping.
Yes, this is Alfonso Centeno, whom you've seen in the report. He's under trial for the forced disappearance of 22 people in the state of Veracruz. I tried to approach him at a pause during an audience at the tribunal to ask him if he could take a couple of questions. He looked at me with a smile and then turned to the policemen who were in charge of his custody. And then he told me, look, I don't want to take any questions just now, but leave me your phone number and my colleagues and I will call you back. I took this as a smooth threat, which made me understand that it's not only about hitting the tip of the pyramid to eradicate corruption and crime in the police. It's a much more profound and a deeper work that Mexico needs.
And that sounds like a very sinister encounter indeed with that man, Laurence. I imagine that the general public in Mexico have, well, zero trust in the police now.
Yeah, there's actually no trust at all between the people and the police, which is what I would call silent terrorism. They make sure that they frighten away one family at a time, and so this will not end up in a general nationwide outcry or even in a proper investigation. This will all end up in silence, and which is why also the figure of 32,000 disappeared people in Mexico since 2006 is thought to be widely underestimated.
And Laurence, is this all as a result of the influence and the richness, if you like, of the drug cartels and the influence they have on the country?
Well, the grip of organized crime is not only on the Mexican society, but also on the whole political structure. As you know, there were general elections in Mexico last July, and during the campaign, no less than 145 party members and candidates were murdered. This tells you about the grip of organized crime, which has reached the highest level of the authorities and the political structure in Mexico.
Laurence, you've exposed it. Thank you very much indeed. Laurence Gavillier, our correspondent there in Mexico City. That was this week's Reporters. You can see it again, of course, via our website, france24.com. This is Reporters here on France 24. Do stay with us.